It's story time!
It's story time.
Shy Tales Studios. Long ago, in a quiet mountain village, surrounded by forests and mist, there lived a young man who had gained a reputation that followed him everywhere. Everyone in the village knew him, not for wisdom, not for skill, not for courage, but for something else: laziness. He avoided hard work whenever he could. If there was a task to be done, he would delay it. If there was effort required, he would look for an excuse. While others worked in the fields, built homes, or practiced their crafts, the young man spent his days resting, wandering, and dreaming. At first, people simply laughed about it. But as time passed, his laziness became a problem. His family worried about him. His neighbors shook their heads. Some even believed that the young man would never accomplish anything meaningful in life. But deep down, the young man wasn't proud of this reputation. In quiet moments, he wondered if his life could be different. He just didn't know how. One day, a wise Zen monk arrived at the village monastery. People traveled from far away to seek his advice. They believed the monk possessed deep understanding about the mind and the nature of human struggles. When the young man heard about the monk, curiosity stirred inside him. Perhaps this wise teacher could tell him why he felt trapped in laziness. So he climbed the path to the monastery and approached the monk. The monk looked at him calmly, as if he already understood the young man's thoughts. "Master," the young man said, "I feel stuck in laziness. I want to change, but I don't know how." The monk listened silently. Then he gave the young man a strange task. "There is a mountain behind this monastery," the monk said. "I want you to climb to the highest peak." The young man looked confused. "That's all?" he asked. The monk smiled. "Number. On the other side of the mountain, hidden inside a cave, there is a single feather. Bring it back to me." The young man frowned. "A feather? Why would I climb a mountain just to bring you a feather?" The monk simply replied, "You came seeking wisdom. This is the path." At first, the young man thought about refusing. Climbing a mountain sounded exhausting. It would take hours, maybe an entire day, but something inside him felt challenged. Perhaps this was the opportunity he had been searching for. So the next morning, he began the journey. The path up the mountain was long and steep. At the beginning, his steps were slow and reluctant. His body complained. His mind whispered excuses. "Turn back," it said. "This is pointless. You don't need to do this." But the young man kept climbing, step by step. As the hours passed, something surprising began to happen. His breathing deepened, his muscles awakened. And with every step higher, the world below looked smaller. For the first time in a long while, he felt alive. Eventually, he reached the summit of the mountain. The wind blew across the peak, carrying the scent of pine trees and distant rivers. For a moment, he simply stood there, amazed. He had done something he once believed impossible, but his journey wasn't finished yet. The monk had said the feather was not on the mountain itself. It was on the other side. So the young man began descending. The path downward was even more dangerous. Loose rocks slid beneath his feet. Several times he slipped and nearly fell. His legs trembled with exhaustion. Yet he continued, driven now not by obligation, but by determination. Finally, after hours of struggle, he found the cave. Inside the cave, illuminated by a thin ray of sunlight, lay the feather. It rested quietly on the ground. Simple, light, almost ordinary. The young man picked it up carefully. He expected to feel triumphant, but instead, a different thought crossed his mind. Now he had to climb the mountain again to return. His body was already tired. Every muscle burned. For a moment, the familiar voice of laziness returned. "Leave the feather," the voice said. "You've already done enough." But something had changed inside him. He looked at the feather in his hand and realized something powerful. The mountain had not defeated him. The climb had not broken him. He had come this far, and he would finish the journey. So he began the climb back up. Each step was harder than the last. His lungs burned. His legs shook. But with every step, he proved something to himself. He was stronger than his excuses. He was stronger than his laziness. Hours later, he finally reached the summit again. Then he descended the final path back to the monastery. When the young man arrived, the monk was waiting, silently, patiently. The young man handed him the feather. The monk smiled. "Well done," he said. But the feather was never the lesson. The young man looked confused. "What do you mean?" The monk pointed toward the mountain. "You believed you were lazy," he said. "But today you climbed a mountain twice. You walked for hours. You endured pain and exhaustion. You continued even when your mind told you to stop." The monk leaned closer. Laziness was never your true nature. It was only a story you believed about yourself. The young man stood there in silence. The monk continued. "Most people believe laziness is something they are born with. But in truth, laziness is often just fear. Fear of difficulty, fear of failure, fear of effort. When we avoid challenges, we become weaker. But when we face them, even small ones, something changes inside us." The monk explained that discipline is not something people suddenly discover. It is something they build, step by step, action by action, just like climbing a mountain. The young man realized something that day. He had always believed he lacked motivation, but the mountain had shown him something deeper. Action creates momentum. Once he started moving, his strength grew. Once he committed to the journey, quitting became harder than continuing. And that is the secret many people never discover. Motivation does not always come first. Action does. When you take the first step, the mind begins to change. Energy begins to grow. Confidence begins to rise. The monk gave the young man one final piece of advice. "If you want to overcome laziness," he said, "challenge yourself every day. Set goals that stretch your limits. Create routines that guide your actions. And when your mind tells you to stop, take one more step. That single step can transform everything." The young man left the monastery that day as a different person. Not because he had received magical wisdom, but because he had proven something to himself. He was capable. The mountain had not changed, but he had. And from that day forward, whenever he faced a difficult task, he remembered the lesson of the feather. The obstacle was never the mountain. The real obstacle had always been inside his own mind, and once he conquered that, there was no limit to what he could achieve.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoy the story, please leave a comment, like, and subscribe to our channel for more interesting stories like this.